On? This is Jake with Walk-Squawk. Tuesday halt here. We have grains kind of on a mixed note here. Let's just recap a little bit of what's going on. We'll start with corn futures under modest pressure this morning. You had a little bit better than expected planting progress and less threatening rains forecast for much of the Midwest. Weigh on sentiment a bit. USDA pegged planting at 12%, beating estimates at 10% and matching last year's pace. Texas leads the pack at 67% planted, with Kansas, Iowa, and Missouri also off to a faster than usual start. And then, while heavy rains are expected in the south central Midwest, lighter amounts elsewhere will allow planting to move forward, though saturated zones will need more drying. So, export inspections were strong, led by shipments to Mexico, Japan, and South Korea. You have trade talks heating up again with potential deals in the work with Vietnam, Japan, India, adding pressure on China to re-engage. Maybe this will be, maybe we might see something shake out here towards the weekend. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Uh, so you have July corn kind of still remaining range bounds with low trading volumes as traders, just kind of waiting a breakout here. Prices may drift lower in the absence of any like fresh bullish catalysts here. So, soybean complex, catching a little bit bid this year, kind of, following macro. Macro was sold off yesterday, kind of seeing a rebound here again in crude oil and equity markets. Soybean planting was at 8%, slightly ahead both last year and the 5-year average. Progress is focused on the southern corn belt right now. The 7-day percip forecast shows heaviest rains in Oklahoma, Kansas, southeast Nebraska, and southwest Iowa. Surrounding areas should be workable. So you also had export inspections were strong again, beating last year for the fifth straight week. Egypt, Mexico, and China were top destinations, with China's purchases likely going to Sinograin because what private forecaster is going to be paying those tariffs? Not private forecaster, but private. Um, anyways, so China. So China's soybean stocks, hit a 3-month low, but you have arrival of Brazilian shipments are expected to ease this tightness in May and June. You also had news that ADM will shutter its South Carolina soybean crush plant. It's one of its smallest facilities in the U.S. And last but not not least, we have wheat. Chicago wheat slipping again this morning as technical weakness foreshadows fundamentals, while Kansas City holds steady. Winter wheat ratings dropped 2% to 45% good to excellent, below last year's 50% good to excellent. Spring wheat is running ahead of last year, and moisture over the next week favors eastern Kansas, Oklahoma. Coverage in the far west northern plains remains uncertain. Yet export inspections exceeded expectations. But I mean, expectations are pretty low, right? You have Vietnam, Mexico, and Philippines as top destinations. A trade deal with Vietnam may be imminent. Um, Sovicon raised the Russians' April export forecast to 2 million metric tons. This is way below last year's 4.6. Dryness in the Ukraine-Russia Black Sea region is becoming more concerning, with the latest summer outlook trending drier. Chicago wheat has broken below last week's lows, which is important because you have bearish chart action suggests downside momentum is building as the market exits consolidation. All right, that's all I have for you today. Please like, follow, and subscribe, and check out my newsletter. It's a doozy. Thank you.